Right, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be practicing. Yes, you did hear that right. I am going to be practicing my golf. So I've not been playing very much at all. I played a little bit during summer, mainly in July. I think I played maybe 5 or 6 times in July, but I'd say since July, so from August onwards, I genuinely think I've been on the golf course 3 times, maybe 4 times. I just played on the weekend. I played a match play series at Perranporth, winter foursomes here in Cornwall, where professionals can also enter. Generally, everything was okay bar my short game. Anything inside of 100 yards, absolutely abysmal. Putting, pretty good. Driving, pretty good. Irons, pretty good. But my short game was woeful. And this morning I've had a few cancellations, so I thought, rather than fill them, why not actually take the time, practice my own game, and record a video at the same time, and kind of show you what I'm working on, why I'm working on it, and how I practice, which may well help you guys towards when you need to practice and what you should be doing within your practice time. So today we're going to be focusing very much on my wedges inside of 100 yards. It's going to be pitching, not chipping today, just because it's not very nice outside. I've got the GC quad as well, so I'm going to get a gap test for myself. But first I'm going to work on my actual technique using my cameras on my V1 software, which I coach with daily. Going to look at my technique and then get a gap testing session done. Now, as I said, I've hardly been on the golf course. And what would I tell people that I'm coaching? Well, if you're not playing, you're not going to be getting better, or you're not going to maintain your kind of level. And for myself, I used to be very good inside of 100 yards. You know, I was confident. Now I just feel completely lost, and it's because I've spent no time on my game. If I have spent time on my game, I've worked on my full swing. I've hit golf balls. I'm on a driving range. I teach daily. I can hit golf balls. I still don't hit many, but I can if I want to. I don't do very much short game at all. And I'm paying the price for that. As I say, when I played on Sunday, you know, I even got the putter out a couple of times from like 30, 40 yards, which is, it's disgraceful. I literally have the touch of an overweight elephant at the moment, and I just feel so anxious about 30, 40 yard pitches, chip shots, that I have to get the putter out. I'm literally like an 80-year-old off 35 at the moment. It's really bad. My younger self looking at me on the weekend would have just thought, what's happened? So I need to get it sorted. I need to work on it. And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to firstly work on my technique. I've got a load of range balls that was left over from yesterday's coaching sessions. So I'm going to work on my technique initially, have a look at what I'm doing. I haven't looked at my technique. I've just been going off field. I haven't videoed myself, so I need to have a look at what I'm actually doing. And then following that, I've got the GC quad. I'm going to do a gap test with all my wedges. So I've got a 50, 54, 58. I'm going to get full 3/4 and half swings with each one. Because again, at the moment on the golf course, I've got 67 yards. I'm literally going over it thinking, I have no idea what this is. And so many times I've hit not a bad shot, but my distance control is just way off. Tends to be longer than shorter. So that's what I need to do as well. But firstly, let's have a look at my technique and see what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so hopefully you can see the screen here. So just hit a few shots, recorded some on the cameras. Taking a little look at my swing now, I can see why it's not been going too well. And again, this is why you must look at your golf swing. You must have golf lessons. You need to see your golf swing in action on a camera. Otherwise you don't actually know what you're doing. So let's take this one on the right, for example, so the down the line view. So setup for me, it's not too bad, but it tends to, I can see that my hands are really close to my legs. The feeling for me through the ball, it just feels like I'm all hands and I'm not timing it well in terms of closure of the face. And with pitching especially, that can add loft or take loft off. So for me, that kind of makes sense that I've almost started with my hands so close that I've not got really any room to just keep the hands passive, and that's generally what's happening. So backswing, I tend to pick it up a little bit, so I'd like to get a bit wider and a bit more rounded, so slightly flatter plane on the way back, a bit more chest and hip rotation. I kind of managed to get it in a pretty good spot on the way down, but then what you'll see is my hands work so far into my body and left, and there's basically no space here. You can see my hands really flip, and when we get through the ball, that position with the wedge is really poor. So what you'll notice when I zoom in here is that the club face is sort of pointing down towards the ground. So basically saying that my hands have really worked the club head, so hardly any body rotation. It's just been controlled by the hands flipping the club, and with such a small shot at low speed, it's just not going to be controllable. As I say, the inconsistencies of my launch, and the launch will affect the overall distance and the spin. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So I need to make my hands more passive through impact, but how I do that is I'm going to need to give myself a bit more room at setup, work the club a little bit wider on the way back and wider on the way through, almost feeling like my hands and club are pushing out to the right hand side away from my body, just to give me more space for the hands to not have to do anything. From the face on position, we sort of see the same thing. Quite a long backswing for the shot I was trying to play. You know, that's a 3/4 backswing, and I was only trying to hit this 54 degree around kind of 40 yards. That's way too long. That's telling me that I'm picking the club up. And then on the way through, again, just really flippy with the hands. I mean, look at that, it's dreadful. Look how flippy my hands are. You can see at this point, if I zoom in, we can kind of see my left hand, glove hand, get underneath my right, and that's just, again, showcasing that I'm flipping that club. That with a pitch, that position there is poor. So really, I need to get the hands working more passive, but I need to keep myself a bit more room at setup, and then feel like I'm a lot wider, less wrist hinge with my backswing, bit more rotational, and then feel like my hands push out on the way through. So plenty to work on. So basically, I'm just controlling the action with my wrists and my hands. So I need to set up a little bit further away. I'm very, very close, and then I tend to pick the club up quite steep, a lot of wrist hinge and too long. And on the way through, my hands just swing low and left, and I've got no room. I'm kind of trapped in here. That's when I'm forced to create this flipping, flicky action with my hands. And you cannot control such a delicate shot at such low speeds with your hands. Your strike, your launch is going to be off, and then your distance control is going to be off. So what I'm going to try and think about is standing a little bit further away from the ball, feeling a little bit wider and more rounded. So again, really think about butt end of the club and my chest working together. So feel flatter, more rounded, more wide. And on the way through, feel like I'm rotating, almost push out to the right. Feel like I've got much more of a gap here. And then finish much wider, so not flicking and pulling the club up. Feel like I keep my wrists much more passive, arms straighter, and again, kind of try and rotate my chest and hips to move that golf club. So I'm going to hit balls for a good 30, 40 minutes just to really grind this movement in. I'll show you a little montage of what I'm doing, and then we'll have a look at on the cameras of a before and after swing as well. And once I'm happy, then we're going to do the yardage testing. It's starting to feel better. It's starting to feel better. I've hit a load of shots. I've probably been practicing for about half an hour, just under half an hour doing my pitching. So I'm going to video some now on my cameras, and we're going to take a look at kind of the before and after and see what the action's looking like. I'm very zoomed in. We're back on the screen now. So the one on the left is the new one. The one on the right is the old one. So it's definitely not perfect, but it's only been half an hour and I'm going to try and keep practicing. So there's things to work on, but generally looking a little bit better. So the one on the right hand side, I'll tend to pick the club up a little bit too steep. We can see here that on the left hand side it's a little bit shorter and the hands are a little bit deeper. So draw a line straight down on the left versus straight down on the right hand side or the left hand side here. You can see the one on the left, the hands are a bit more behind me and the club is, or the hands are a bit shorter. So that's good because I'm not then decelerating down into the golf ball. Coming in a little bit shallower than what I was as well. So the club working a little bit more underneath my right forearm, whereas here it was working just on top. So coming in from a shallower position as well. Through the ball, I've got a little bit more room. You can see here, well actually quite a bit more room. You can see just after impact, notice how much more room I've got from the butt end of the club and my pelvis or my belt line versus here I'm basically hitting it. So again, then my hands don't need to be so active through the ball. We look at the club face here versus the club face there. You'll notice that the one on the right, you know, that club has really turned kind of down into the ground, whereas when we zoom in the one on the left, that club face is much more passive. So a lot better club face control, and I was seeing that really with the shots I was hitting. It felt better, it felt less handsy and armsy. One thing I haven't talked about was the setup. It felt like I was further away. It's a little bit different, you know, the feel and reel, it felt like I was absolutely miles away. Again, there's a little bit more room in relation to the end of the club and the hands from the belt line or legs. So overall, technique wise, it's looking better and certainly feeling a little bit better as well. So it's not perfect by any means, but looking at the before and after comparison between the two, it's looking lots better and it feels better as well. I just need to hit more balls with it. I need to try and take the time out each day and just hit 20, 30 balls with that movement because it feels a bit strange, setup feels a bit odd, feels very robotic. But it's just something I'm going to have to get used to because it looks loads better. And I was seeing more consistent strikes and launch angles with the shots that I was practicing with. So I'm going to hit a few more just because I want to incorporate the feel. And then what we're going to do, we're going to grab GC Quad. I had it there just because I wanted to see rough kind of launch angle numbers. But we're going to get GC Quad and I'm going to do a gap test with my 50, 54, 58. As I said, find full swings, 3/4 swings, half swings with each one, just so I've then actually got an understanding of how far I hit the ball. Okay, so I've drawn the net across because obviously I'm hitting range balls into the range and I want to get real ball data to make sure it's kind of perfect. So I've got my 50, 54, 58. I'm going to be recording the data on the quad, which will link to my iPad. I'll show you the data once I've done it. So it's a full swing, 3/4 swing, half swing with every single one. I'll probably hit 4 or 5 with each one. To be honest, if I've got 4 or 5 really consistent ones, it's not going to change. I might have to hit more if I'm struggling, if the distances are up and down, but let's just hope the technique is better and that doesn't happen. So I'm going to do this and then I'll show you the data when I'm done. Okay, so just finished up doing the gap test there and it felt pretty consistent actually, especially the 3/4 swings felt really nice, felt like it was repeatable and I was getting very similar yardages each time I did that. So definitely some 3/4 wedges is going to be something I want to take onto the golf course for sure. But I feel way better instantly from just doing that. Let's talk about the yardages. I'll put them here on the screen for you, hopefully a lovely edit. So a full 58, and this is all carry, full 58 was going 100 yards of carry, a 3/4 58 was going 90, and a half 58 was going 70. Now, understand, half of 100 is 50, not 70. That's my own feel. That feels like half to me. Obviously isn't, because it's not literally half. Don't take it too literally. These are my own personal feels. It doesn't matter what my own feels are. As long as I repeat them, I can call it whatever I want, if that makes sense. Full 54 now, 115 yards. A 3/4 54 was going 100, and a half 54 was going 80. 50 full was going 126, 3/4 was going 110, and a half was going 94. So that's my yardages. I'll now write them down in my phone or create a little book, and I'll write those yardages down. It's important to do yardages every 3 to 6 months if you can, because you will be changing all the time. Weather will be changing all the time. But I couldn't tell you the last time I did my wedge yardages. 3-4 years ago maybe. So no wonder I was hitting everything long on the course, because my yardages have definitely changed, definitely hitting it a lot further. My 50 full I thought was a 118 club. The longest one I got there was a 130 carry. The shortest one I got was 123. So it's definitely not a 118, hence I've been going long with that club. But doing that gap test and that practice session has made me feel way better about my game already. So I've just got to keep this going in order to stay positive with it all. So that's the end of that video. Thank you very much for watching. A slightly longer one for you this time. It's going to be a long one for me to edit. But if you enjoy this, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. Like the video, share to your friends. It helps boost me up in the algorithm. It means that I can create more content for you all. So if you're enjoying the content, make sure you like, subscribe. But let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know what you'd like to see in the future as well. If you like the reviews, the course vlogs, or things like this, let me know and I'll try and post whatever you would all prefer to see. But thank you all very much for watching. Have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one.